order and were now fighting for themselves. Then Cedric, the Duke's son, casually dropped a bomb. "I'm not into women, so carrying on my family name isn't my thing." Apparently, he joined the order out of boredom and for the fun of slaying monsters. The rest of the team wasn't thrilled with his laid-back attitude, but hey, the guy got results, so no one argued. After dinner, it was bath time. The girls went to their side of the springs while the guys hung back, but soon some suspicious noises from the women's bath caught the boys' attention. Danny and Howard decided to sneak a peek. Just as they got close, Tama, the noble kitty, stepped in to defend the ladies' honor. With an epic aether roar, he sent the would-be peepers flying back to their corner, tails between their legs. Cedric, watching the whole thing, just shook his head. "What is it with you guys and women? I don't get it." Meanwhile, the ladies finished their bath in peace, and the journey continued. The group arrived at the Leonard Labyrinth, where things were already heating up. A monstrous creature in the shadows watched them, muttering about how these so-called heroes were nothing more than snacks on legs. Clearly, he wasn't planning to let them leave in one piece. Right on cue, a pack of C-rank werewolves attacked. Howard, the group's tank, jumped in and used his taunt skill to draw their attention. The rest of the team spread out, slicing and dicing like pros. Cedric, as always, made it look annoyingly easy, slashing through his enemies with ridiculous grace. Even Vulcan, the no-nonsense blacksmith, was impressed. Aria wasn't going to let the guys have all the fun, so she jumped in too. Meanwhile, Tama analyzed the situation. The wolves, armed like they were on a Monsters with Style runway, were tough, but Tama had a plan. Instead of using his usual aether roar, he unleashed water roar, blasting through one wolf's chest. He followed up by taking out two more, leaving the whole team stunned. The little guy wasn't just cute, he was a total powerhouse. Back in the shadows, the labyrinth's owner was losing it. How the hell did my wolves get wrecked by a cat? He realized he might have to step in himself if things kept going like this. Back with the group, everyone was still in awe of Tama's skills. Turns out, their little mascot was far deadlier than they'd ever imagined. Iria couldn't stop praising Tama's strength. She even joked about wanting to be overpowered by him. Tama didn't know what to make of it, but figured it was best to ignore her and focus. She was still his master after all. The group moved into a room that felt heavy and unsettling. Everyone stopped as Cedric suggested caution. That's when Beryl Astaroth appeared, a demon who had survived the Ragnarok War. He announced that their journey would end there. Danny immediately accused him of attacking Leonard for revenge. Astaroth explained that Leonard was just the first step in his larger plan. Then, to no one's surprise, he summoned a group of trolls to attack. Cedric gave the order to spread out, but Astaroth quickly created a magical wall, cutting Tama off from the group. One of the trolls charged at Tama, but he fought back and tore its arm off. Unfortunately, the arm grew back almost instantly. Frustrated, Tama kept fighting as more trolls closed in around him. Cedric decided to handle things himself. He drew his sword, which radiated dark magic, and sliced two trolls in half with ease. Astaroth recognized the magic and muttered that it was the same power used by the legendary Grand Mage. Cedric didn't respond, but the smirk on his face said it all. Meanwhile, Tama was struggling. He tried using Stone Roar, but it barely affected the trolls. He thought about evolving into a more powerful form, but decided against it. It would mean giving up being Aria's trusted companion. Instead, he used Flame Roar, burning the trolls so badly that even their regeneration couldn't keep up. Tama managed to defeat them all. Astaroth, furious that his trolls were defeated by a cat, decided to intervene. Before he could attack, Vulcan hit him with her hammer. He dodged, only for Iria to strike at him next. Astaroth blocked her attack and mocked their teamwork. Vulcan swung again, creating a cloud of dust that blinded him just long enough for Aria to use acceleration and stab him in the chest. At first, Astaroth seemed unfazed, but then the blade started glowing, amplifying the damage. He made one last desperate attack, hitting Aria with his dagger before falling. The team rushed to Aria, and Tama suspected she had been poisoned. Astaroth, before turning to stone, laughed and said, "She won't be the only one. Humanity's days are numbered." The team confirmed their fears when Cedric identified the poison as dragon poison, the deadliest kind. Howard used his shield to slow its spread, but they needed help fast. Back in Leonard, the doctor told them Arya had less than 2 days to live unless they got an Earth Dragon's eye. The group wanted to hunt the dragon, but Cedric explained they didn't have enough time. As Arya cried out in pain, Tama couldn't stand by anymore. He ran out the window, determined to save her. Flying through the night, Tama thought about how Arya had once saved him. Now, it was his turn. Tama returned to the ruins where he was reincarnated. The Earth Dragon he had faced before was waiting. The dragon mocked Tama for daring to return, but Tama didn't back down. He declared he would defeat her, though deep down he knew he couldn't win in his current form. Tama made the difficult choice to evolve, giving up his small, fluffy form to become a powerful behemoth, ready to fight for Arya. That's the end of episode 3. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Fight rages on as Tama in his monstrous form unleashes his flame howling skill, a fiery attack meant to incinerate everything in its path. But the Earth Dragon isn't just some pushover. It counters by using its defensive skill and lunges straight at Tama, sinking its massive teeth into his neck. Tama's body goes limp, lifeless, and the Earth Dragon starts flexing, thinking it's all over. Just as the dragon's ego hits the roof, Tama's eyes snap open. Turns out, the beast let its guard down, and Tama wasn't about to let that slide. In a flash, he pulls out his Flame Edge skill, going straight for the Earth Dragon's other eye. It's a brutal move, but it works. Tama not only blinds the dragon completely, but also takes it down for good. But of course, there's a catch. As Tama prepares to rush back to his master, Arya, his monster form fades and he turns back into a cute, fluffy cat. He quickly realizes there's a time limit to his evolution. Annoyed but determined, he stores the Earth Dragon's massive corpse in his inventory and sprints back to save our Earth Dragon's enormous corpse sprawled on the ground. And who's on top of it? None other than Tama, looking absolutely wrecked but victorious. Cedric wastes no time and shouts, "Don't just stand there gawking. We need the dragon's eye for Arya." While all this chaos unfolds, Arya is deep in a dream, trying to take her back to her childhood. She's just 13, living in her peaceful hometown when demons attack out of nowhere. It's a massacre. Elves are being slaughtered as the demons search for a philosopher's stone. They're ruthless, killing anyone who resists. The demons split into 3 groups to cover more ground. In the middle of this carnage, young Arya tries to escape, but her luck runs out. She runs straight into the demons. They demand to know the location of the Philosopher's Stone. Terrified, Arya freezes and in her panic pees her pants. Ever since that moment, Arya's had a soft spot for cats. Arya suddenly wakes up from her dream and says, "Yeah, I'm the reason you're still breathing." After the intense battle and treatment, Arya barely clung to life, but managed to pull through thanks to her friends' tireless efforts. Everyone stayed close, offering all the support they could. When she finally reunited with Anna, she hugged them so tightly that she burst into tears. Some time passed, but the toxin in Arya's body was no joke. She's recovering, but it's slow. She's not back to full strength yet. While Arya rests, Tama decides to head back to the local dungeon. He reflects on the fact that he saved Arya, but his behemoth form reverted out of nowhere. The transformation was incredible, but unpredictable, like a cheat code you didn't know how to activate or control. After Tama defeated the Earth Dragon, his evolution ability disappeared, but he realized he had gained the dragon's powers instead. Naturally, being the curious and impulsive cat he is, Tama went to the dungeon to test his shiny new skills. His first victim, a hulking minotaur. Tama gracefully dodges the bull's massive club swing and counters with Dragon Claw, summoning a spectral dragon that digs its sharp claws into the minotaur's back. Next, he unleashes Dragon Fang, summoning a ghostly monster's mouth that bites the minotaur and slams it to the ground like a sack of potatoes. After seeing the damage, Tama smugly thinks, "Yep, I'm rocking some S-rank abilities now." Just as he's enjoying his dominance, human footsteps echo in the dungeon. Emerging from the shadows is a maiden sniffing his lost helmet like it's perfume. She says, "I've finally found my strong man." But Tama, now back in his cute cat form, is baffled. Why is she acting like she knows him? The woman suddenly crushes his helmet and lunges at him like a predator. Tama, in classic scaredy cat fashion, bolts without a second thought and dives into a hole to escape. As she watches him flee, the woman vows to find him again. Shaken, Tama eventually sneaks back home and hides in his favorite spot, trying to figure out why that insane woman seemed so familiar. Those piercing eyes. The thought sends chills down his spine. The next day, Arya takes Tama on a picnic by the seaside. She's dressed in her cutest outfit, ready for a day of fresh raspberries and relaxing in the sun. As they settle on the grass, Arya brings up her recovery, recalling how she heard about the Earth Dragon's corpse and how Tama was found injured beside it. For a moment, she wonders if her little kitty was the one who defeated the creature, but then she laughs it off, dismissing the idea. Instead, she lies on the grass, lamenting up. Sensing her sadness, Tama rubs against her arm to cheer her up. Arya imagines he's trying to say, "You're stronger than you think, master." After the picnic, they visit Vulcan's workshop to pick up even if it means risking his own 9 lives. During their expedition, the team encounters a goblin blocking their path. Without hesitating, Arya rushes forward, slicing through the goblin so fast it doesn't even realize it's lost its head. Pleased with her swift victory, she praises her new gear, courtesy of Vulcan, and the buffs Tama provided. But before she can bask in her glory, that crazy woman who chased Tama the day before appears again. She laughs wickedly, claiming that it's destiny for her and Tama to be together. Arya, trying to make sense of this madness, asks if the woman is an adventurer from Ruin. Vulcan takes one look at her outfit, more like a fashion disaster than adventurer gear, and doubts it. The woman smirks and says she was born from the shadows and doesn't know anything about Ruin or even her own name. Vulcan scratches his head and mutters that she's probably got amnesia, or just lost her marbles. But then the woman goes full crazy mode, declaring, with zero shame, that she wants Tama to father her offspring. Vulcan almost chokes on air while Arya calmly replies, "He's just a kitten, lady, he's not even capable of that." Tama, horrified, hides in the safety of Arya's melons, prompting the mad woman to realize the cat already has an owner. She's clearly frustrated, but Arya, in her endless kindness, offers the woman shelter. She reasons that leaving her out here would make her an easy target for slavers. The mad woman perks up and asks if she can stay with Tama. Arya, hesitant but fair, agrees and promises Tama she won't let the woman hurt him. Though uneasy, Tama trusts his master's judgment. On their way home, Vulcan asks the woman what she'd like to be called. She shrugs, saying it doesn't matter. Inspired by the stars, Arya names her Stella, a word that means beauty in her homeland. Surprisingly, Stella loves it and adopts the name. Later that night, Tama wakes up to Stella's voice in his head, relieved that she can finally talk to him directly. She claims she knows Tama can speak human language because she heard him when he killed her. Tama is baffled. How is she alive? Stella, offended, reminds him they've met twice in the labyrinth. That's when it hits him. Stella is the Earth Dragon. Stella recounts her story. She was born in the dungeon, never needing anyone to tell her she was a powerful, high-ranking creature. For years, she crushed weaker monsters, thinking no one could ever match her, until Tama defeated her. Thanks to her ancient resurrection ability, she was reborn as a human in the same labyrinth, found the gear of a fallen warrior, and began searching for her conqueror. Tama, now wary, wonders if Stella wants revenge, but she surprises him, explaining she's not here to fight. She's in a state of submission to her victor. In fact, she's never felt this way before, falling for someone strong enough to defeat her. Stella then lunges at Tama, clearly hoping for a closer connection, but Arya intercepts, grabbing Tama and protecting him. Stella, flustered, retreats, but not before telepathically telling Tama she loves him and will wait for him. Tama looks at Stella as she disappears into the night, thinking to himself, she might look human, but she's all dragon inside. He realizes they've brought a real monster into their home, and things are about to get a lot more complicated. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you.
The next morning, Stella woke up ravenous, tearing through breakfast like a black hole, asking about every bite before devouring it. While she ate, the dragoness communicated with Tama through telepathy, her curiosity piqued by Arya. There was something fascinating about this delicate-looking elf commanding a powerful creature like Tama. Tama explained that Arya was his savior and master, the one he was born to serve. He also begged the dragoness not to reveal his true identity as a behemoth to Arya, fearing it would ruin everything. Amused by his secret, The Dragoness briefly considered blackmailing him into becoming her mate, but decided against it. Winning him over fair and square sounded much more satisfying. After breakfast, Arya took Stella on a walk to jog her memory. Arya gently asked if Stella remembered anything about her past. "Yeah," Stella replied, "mostly fighting." Arya guessed Stella might have been an adventurer and wondered if meeting an elf stirred any old memories. Stella admitted she was surprised, especially by the idea of Arya keeping Tama as a pet. Overhearing the conversation, Tama realized that Stella likely thought Arya was even stronger than him, given their relationship. For someone like Stella, strength was everything. To trigger more memories, Arya suggested training together. Stella enthusiastically agreed. At Vulcan's smithy, Stella browsed for gear. Arya recommended sturdy armor, but Stella hated how restrictive it felt. Instead, she settled on gloves but flexed her draconic arms and tail with pride. It was then revealed that Stella was a Draconid, a rare human-dragon hybrid. Vulcan couldn't resist inspecting Stella's tail, stroking it like a prized artifact. Stella snapped at her to stop, nervous about what the blacksmith might do with high-quality materials. Next, Stella went weapon shopping, digging through piles like a kid in a candy store. She surprised everyone by picking a massive iron shield. Holding it effortlessly in one hand, she left Jaws on the floor. "A shield?" the others murmured, expecting her to go for a flashy weapon. Stella explained, telepathically, that she'd ignored defense in her past life until Tama killed her. That lesson had taught her the value of defense and, oddly, love. With her shield secured, Stella grabbed an oversized sword. Tama sighed, already anticipating the chaos to come. Gear ready, the group entered the dungeon. Stella buzzed with excitement, but Arya, ever cautious, asked Tama to keep an eye on their fiery companion. Vulcan suggested starting with weak monsters, but Stella bolted ahead, hungry for action. She encountered 3 goblins and leapt into battle before anyone could stop her. Tossing her weapons into the air, she transformed into her draconic form, tearing through 2 goblins with her claws. Then, catching her falling sword, she obliterated the third with a single strike. Laughing and covered in blood, Stella exclaimed, "This is so much fun!" Tama sighed, unfazed. She's an earth dragon, what did I expect? Still, he hoped she'd stay on the right path. Arya observed Stella's fluid combat style, noting how instinctive it seemed. Her instincts might hold the key to her past, she said. Tama agreed, but knew Stella needed guidance to balance her dragon side with human nature. Eager for a tougher challenge, Stella urged the group to press deeper into the dungeon. On the second floor, she fought 2 orcs, easily bashing them into submission with her shield. "This is way too easy for her," Arya muttered, and they moved on to the 3rd floor. Here, danger escalated. Before Arya could warn her, Stella charged ahead and faced a slimy roper. Disgusted, she ignored Tama's caution about its nasty tricks. When the creature grabbed her sword with its tentacles and sprayed her with slime, Stella snapped, unleashing her rage. Tama intervened, using his own tentacles to restrain the roper and obliterating it with a water-powered attack. Afterward, Tama asked why Stella had freaked out over such a weak monster. She admitted that ever since Tama had killed her, her mind hadn't been the same. Feeling guilty, Tama reassured her, "Don't worry, I've got your back. Just try to rely on your human side more than your dragon instincts." His words struck a chord, deepening Stella's growing affection for the elemental cat. Vulcan, ever cheerful, declared, "We're a perfect team." Stella, intrigued by the idea of teamwork, began to understand the strength of humans working together. Meanwhile, Arya, who had been caught in Tama's earlier tentacle attack, seemed unusually interested in experiencing it again, leaving Tama blushing furiously. Despite the chaos, the group pressed on, growing closer with each battle. Stella was slowly finding her place, and Tama silently prayed for fewer weird moments in the days ahead. Vulcan decided it was time to drill some discipline into Stella, starting with basic military tactics. She explained that with the right equipment, Stella would serve as the team's tank, the frontline defender. Her role? Absorb enemy attacks, shield her allies, and strike back with calculated power. Stella beamed with excitement at the idea of being the center of attention, eagerly nodding along. Tama silently approved the plan. With Stella as their tank, the rest of the group could focus on offense, and he'd have the freedom to maneuver. That said, He couldn't help but hope Stella's wild spirit wouldn't completely derail their strategy. That hope was tested almost immediately. In the labyrinth, they spotted a group of orcs. Before anyone could outline a plan, Stella banged her shield with her sword, taunting the orcs like a carnival barker. One charged at her, axe raised high, only to have it shattered by her shield. With a gleeful laugh, Stella swung her sword, severing the orc's arm. The poor creature fled, howling in pain. But Stella wasn't content with her victory. Instead of holding the line, she charged after the retreating orc, completely ignoring the rest of the enemies. Tama sighed, muttering something about rookie enthusiasm before casting Lion King's blessing to buff the team. Arya, ever composed, reminded him to use his tentacles, leaving Tama looking as flustered as a cat in a rainstorm. While Stella chased her quarry, Arya and Vulcan efficiently handled the remaining orcs, their teamwork flawless. Not long after, they encountered a giant roper. This time, Stella stayed in formation, using her shield to block its attacks while Arya and Tama dealt the finishing blows. By the end of the battle, Stella admitted that fighting as a team wasn't so bad after all. Later, the group stumbled upon a cave with a natural pool. Without hesitation, Stella stripped down and cannonballed into the water. Vulcan and Arya followed her lead, laughing as they joined in. Meanwhile, Tama stood awkwardly at the edge, resolutely maintaining his noble knight demeanor, despite the chaos around him. After their adventure, they returned to the guild to register Stella as an official adventurer. There, the receptionist, Anna, introduced them to a man named Reese. He had a special request for Arya, a multi-day escort mission to protect valuable goods. Tama puffed out his chest with pride. Someone needed his master personally. Riss explained that the job involved guarding something priceless. When Vulcan was invited to join, she hesitated, concerned about leaving her shop unattended, but ultimately promised to manage her schedule to come along. Curious, Stella asked what they'd be guarding. Reese led them to a warehouse and opened the doors. Inside, Stella froze in place. There, towering before her, was the skeleton of an earth dragon, her own body from her past life. Speechless, she stared at the remnants of her former